Come with me as I go game hunting at Retro Rick's Game Point store in Conway, Arkansas. Right off the bat, you are hit with a wave of nostalgia. And to the right of the doors are where you see a ton of Nintendo Switch games and some more rare ones here in these cases. And up above these cases was some amazing stuff that just kind of caught my attention right away. Then you've got some Nintendo Amiibos here and 3DS and DS games, as well as a few little one-off game cases that they are selling, which is totally awesome to see. You don't see those in game stores very often. Then we moved to the PlayStation 2 area, which had a ton of stuff. I remember playing this game as a kid, and wow, it just took me back. This Link statue was absolutely crazy, but I headed back towards this back corner where they had a ton of Sega stuff, as well as a ton of vintage t-shirts, which you don't really see at game stores in my area or really anywhere anymore, which is kind of crazy. I went through it a little bit and ended up finding this awesome looking Zelda shirt. I almost got it, but it was a little bit too small, but just look at how awesome this thing looks. This would have been amazing. I kind of wish I would have picked it up. Then I continued on through the game section where I stopped at the Dreamcast section and found Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Absolutely amazing game. If you've never played it, what's wrong with you? But moving on, we made it to the NES stack and there were a ton of games here. Mighty Bomb Jack is one of those games that I feel like not enough people talk about, but I loved playing it as a kid, as well as ended up finding Blades of Steel. Amazing sports title. If you've ever played it, you know what I'm talking about. The Super Nintendo, again, a ton of awesome games. Some of these just kind of jumped out to me when I saw it, like this Chuck Rock. I ended up having this game, so I didn't end up grabbing it, but the Nintendo 64 collection right there looks pretty mild or small, but when we get to the glass cases, you'll see more. There's a ton of Wii and Wii U games here. Definitely some awesome games to see. Most game stores don't have selections of single game consoles that are this big and this well put together. Like this end cap had some amazing Wii and GameCube and everything like that. Then I headed to the Xbox section, which, you know, I love picking up games for the Xbox. This Disney Skate game is really funny because they built it from the Tony Hawk's like engine, but through Disney characters on top of it. Then I found this Grab by the Ghoulies. This game was in great condition, as was most of the games that I saw. Probably 90% of these games were definitely well worth picking up, which is totally awesome. The Xbox section here was very large, as well as the Xbox 360. There was some on this side and then more on the other. But realistically, I wouldn't have expected to see this much of one individual console. I kind of went through these PS3 and PlayStation ones just because I have them. This logo that they had was absolutely awesome behind the counter, which then had me to the GameCube section, which, you know, I've been collecting a ton of GameCube games this summer if you've seen the channel, and this section blew my mind. Most game stores in my area don't have like a fifth of this amount of games, so to see this many GameCube games was absolutely awesome. There was a few that I'd never seen, like the Shrek's Extra Large, which was pretty awesome, but I almost picked up this Pikmin. I probably should have, because for some reason I can't find the copy I had. Maybe I got rid of it or something, but the GameCube section was insane. And then these kiosks. This is a Hospital Super Nintendo kiosk, as well as a PlayStation kiosk. Just some amazing stuff here, as well as this GameCube one. Then I got to the glass cases, which realistically had some absolute heat in them. Yes, that's an Atari Jaguar down, just kind of sitting there and chilling. These Xbox 360 games have been going crazy lately, and you could tell by some of these prices that these are actually kind of pretty nicely priced. Then we've got some Amiibos. This Master Chief was awesome, kind of looming over the glass cases. Then I checked out the box consoles and this little Mario figure, or big Mario figure, and some more consoles back on the back wall. Then I got to kind of the Switch / 3DS section, which They had a ton of awesome Switch stuff. You can see they have a bunch of Switch consoles to pick up, as well as 3DS. And then I moved over to the kind of the PlayStation section, which had an absolutely big amount of PS Vita games, which you never see, especially in the box. Then I checked out the PSP, the PS2 games, as well as those PS4 games you saw and PS3 games. There's some amazing games here. I don't know how they have so much good stuff, and it feels like they don't really have that much filler in the store. Then again, DS and Game Boy Advance and all the Nintendo game handhelds are all in the same section, which is totally amazing. There's some really awesome stuff. Then down below, more GameCube games that I absolutely stood way too long staring at. I headed back some more towards this corner where they had a kiosk for the Super Nintendo, and then we made it to the Nintendo 64 games. When I was out on the floor, you said there weren't very many. Then I got to this glass display case and was absolutely shocked. There's just so many bangers here. They had a ton of amazing games and even some boxed games here down below. And they had this Pikachu Blue controller, which I thought was really cool, and I haven't seen one of those in ages. Then I kept going where I found the NES section, which again, there's a ton of amazing NES games and some boxed ones and really expensive ones here. And right next to that, kind of between the two, were Super Nintendo games. Again, these are bangers on bangers. Then I just really can't tell you. There are so many amazing games that they had here, which leads us to this pinball machine, which looks absolutely insane and is free to play. But last but not least is the Grail display case, where they have a gold Nintendo 64. Then they have Sculptor's Cut for the Nintendo 64 for $1,300, as well as some Neo Geo Pocket Color games that I definitely found interesting. But I ended up getting some games, so let's talk about what I ended up picking up. And then after that, we'll check the values, and then we'll kind of wrap it up by telling you my experience with everything from the pricing, the customer service, and everything about that. But as you can see, I got a black bag here that has a bunch of stuff there. First off, I bought a Retro Ricks hat. You'll see that in the future. There's probably not a value to that except priceless. But then I did get a few games here. I ended up picking up 4 games while I was looking. Now, the first one is Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS. My wife wanted this, and it is complete. So for 25 bucks, it is what it is. But I ended up grabbing that game Grabbed by the Ghoulies for the Xbox original. This was 20 bucks, and honestly, it was in a great condition. The case, everything, the manual, the disc itself, definitely well worth it there. Then I ended up finding that Disney Sports skateboarding game for $35. This just looked like a ton of fun, and I have never seen this out in the wild when I go game hunting. So I ended up picking it up. There was a ton of stuff that I've either seen or could pick up regionally in my area. So I didn't grab anything like that. But I thought this was a great game for the GameCube collection to pick up. And it was missing the manual, but that is okay with me. And then last but not least, the heavy hitter was Metal Slug Second Mission for the Neo Geo Pocket Color, which I think this ended up being $100. So now that you've seen what I've picked up, let's go ahead and sit down on my computer and see, was this worth picking up? So as you can see, I've got price charting pulled up here. Let's do Animal Crossing New Leaf starting off, and this game is complete. So I ended up paying $25 for it, which we knew was a little bit more than what I was going for, but my wife's been looking for this in our area for a decent deal, and I felt like this was a great place to pick it up. However, it's only worth around $17 in the condition it is, so we did pay a little bit more than what it was, but it is a game store. It's a local game store, at least in that area, and I felt like this was worth picking up because the other games were well priced, much better, and we'll get to that. You know how on this channel we love to check out prices, and I felt like this one was pretty good. This game store ended up being pretty awesome. This Grabbed by the Ghoulies is worth about $15, but the condition was absolutely insane. And I wanted to pick up this because the Xbox original collection they had there was so good. I couldn't just pass up on not picking up an Xbox original game. And last but not least, at least for the disc-based games, was Disney Sports Skateboarding, which this game is for the GameCube. And if you look this up currently, it is going for $39. So $5 more than this price, which is pretty awesome because I only paid $35. So that kind of makes up for this game being a little bit more expensive, or the Animal Crossing, if you want to look at it that way. But last but not least was this Metal Slug 2, or second mission. I can never remember what it's called. But this game is worth a lot of money. It's worth around $90. I paid $100 for it, but it's been a few days. So if you look, it was like $98 when I picked this up. So I'm gonna give it to him here. Obviously, the game prices fluctuate all over the place, but being able to walk into a game store and pretty much get within 10% of price charting, I think those prices are absolutely well worth picking up. But we've also got to talk about how awesome the store was, as well as how well the customer service was. I had a few interactions with like 2 or 3 employees, and it was definitely awesome. I didn't expect this store to be as great as it was because I've seen a ton of people talking about it online, and it is as good as it seems because the prices are really good, which is insane to me. If I would have put these games up in my local store, it would have been like $30 or $50 more at least. And overall, there was some really, really good stuff that I just don't see in any of my local stores. Maybe they'll have the expensive game here or there, but no one has 100+ GameCube games just sitting on their shelves to sell, actually at like price charting or market values, which is absolutely insane to me. They're doing a great job getting GameCube games and just games in general. Those glass cases were filled to the brim with some really amazing stuff. So overall, if you're in the Conway, Arkansas area, I would suggest checking it out. Now, you may or may not find any games. I wasn't really looking for anything specific when I went in, so I found a mismatch of random games, but these were definitely well worth picking it up, and I'm glad I stopped. But I'm going to get out of here, so check out that video out if you haven't already. I got to go play Metal Slug second mission on my Neo Geo Pocket Color because the first one was totally amazing, and I had to buy this one, but I think if you're in the area, definitely check it out. And I hear he's having a Retro Fest soon, so I'm kind of tempted to go. Should I? I'm not sure if I'm going, but I think it's interesting. So I'm getting out of here, so check out that video out if you haven't already.